Every generation has searched for it, that elusive work that captures the soul of America, that defines its contradictions, its hope, its struggle, and its promise. For over a century and a half, critics have called it the great American novel. From Melville's Moby Dick to Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, from Twain's Mississippi Adventures to Steinbeck's Depression-era struggles, the quest to name that one defining story continues. But what if the great American novel isn't a novel at all? What if, in a nation that now consumes its stories through screens instead of pages, the truest reflection of America is something broadcast, not printed? Increasingly, cultural critics and fans alike are pointing to one title that fits this bill perfectly: HBO's The Wire, created by David Simon. It's a claim that might sound bold, even blasphemous, to literary purists. But the argument is surprisingly compelling. The phrase, the great American novel, was coined back in 1868 by John William DeForest. He wrote that the ideal American novel had not yet been written, but when it was, it would capture the nation's spirit, its values, and its flaws with honesty and depth. Since then, dozens of authors have tried. Twain's Huckleberry Finn exposed the hypocrisy of slavery in a land that called itself free. Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby dissected wealth and disillusionment in the Jazz Age. Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird wrestled with race and morality in the Deep South, while J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye gave voice to youthful alienation in the post-war years. Each of these novels shines a light on a particular moment in the American psyche, yet all of them, powerful as they are, belong to their time. The world has changed since then, and so has the way Americans tell stories about themselves. In that sense, The Wire is the natural evolution of the great American novel, a sprawling, multi-layered, modern epic told on television. Premiering on HBO in 2002, The Wire ran for 5 seasons, chronicling life in the city of Baltimore from perspectives that rarely made it to mainstream fiction. Drug dealers, police officers, dock workers, journalists, teachers, and politicians. Each season turned the lens toward a different corner of society, weaving together personal dramas and systemic failures into one grand narrative. At its heart, The Wire was never just a crime story. It was a portrait of America itself, an unflinching examination of class, race, corruption, and power. Like Moby Dick or The Grapes of Wrath, it dared to ask what happens when an individual's moral compass collides with a broken system. And in doing so, it made television literature. David Simon, a former journalist for the Baltimore Sun, approached The Wire with the precision of a reporter and the ambition of a novelist. Every line of dialogue, every corner of the city, every tragic decision felt rooted in lived experience. The show's realism came not just from authenticity, but from structure, an almost literary structure. Instead of chapters, it had seasons. Instead of a protagonist, it had an ensemble. Its themes, inequality, bureaucracy, futility, and resilience, built upon each other like the layers of a sprawling 19th-century novel. When DeForest imagined, critics often argue that the great American novel must capture both the dream and the disillusionment of the United States. The Wire achieves this in ways that no single book has managed in decades. In the same way that The Great Gatsby dissected the glittering emptiness of the Roaring Twenties, The Wire exposes the hollow promise of the 21st century American dream. A dream that too often excludes those without privilege or access. The corner boys who never escape the cycle of poverty. The detectives who fight corruption only to be consumed by it. The politicians who start with good intentions and end in compromise. Each character embodies the tension between aspiration and reality. In the end, the system always wins, a sentiment echoed in Simon's haunting refrain, "It's all in the game." And perhaps that's the point. The game is America. To call The Wire the great American novel might sound like a provocation, but it's a reflection of how storytelling has evolved. In the 19th century, the novel was the most powerful medium for exploring social truths. Today, long-form television has taken its place. A series like The Wire allows for the same scope, complexity, and moral inquiry that once defined literature. It's not escapist entertainment, it's an act of journalism disguised as drama. And just like Twain or Steinbeck, Simon gives his audience no easy answers. The show refuses to comfort or simplify. Instead, it demands engagement. It asks viewers to recognize that the systems we criticize are the same ones we participate in. In that way, The Wire transcends its genre. It's not just about Baltimore. It's about every American city, every flawed institution, every compromised dream. More than 2 decades after its debut, The Wire continues to be studied in universities and referenced in political debates. Its influence stretches beyond entertainment. Former President Barack Obama has called it one of his favorite shows. Scholars compare its scope to War and Peace, and in classrooms across America, students analyze its depiction of urban decay alongside classic literature. That level of cultural penetration is exactly what defines a great American novel. A story that holds a mirror to society and forces the nation to look. The Wire succeeds where so many works fail because it refuses to be moralistic or sentimental. It shows that America's failures aren't due to bad people, but bad systems. Systems too large and too indifferent to change easily. And that, arguably, is the most American story of all. So maybe it's time we expand the definition of the great American novel. Maybe it's not bound by ink and paper, but by its ability to tell the truth about who we are. In that sense, David Simon's The Wire is not just television. It's literature in motion, a 21st century epic for a nation still trying to understand itself. It captures ambition, inequality, moral decay, and hope with the precision of a novelist and the empathy of a journalist. The great American novel may never have been written, but perhaps it's already been filmed. As DeForest once said, the true measure of such a work is whether it reveals the American soul. In every scene of The Wire, from the corner to City Hall, that soul is laid bare, bruised, conflicted, but unmistakably alive.